Speaking of locking a guy in, the Dodgers locked up manager Dave Roberts on a 4-year extension on Tuesday. The new deal runs from the 26 season to the 29 season and is the new record for AAV on a manager's contract, topping Craig Counsell's contract. But I think what, like, barely topping
statement contract.
Barely topping Counsell's contract. I believe it was very small margin, but nonetheless, Dodgers get their guy for another 4 years. I'll be honest. If you'd have asked me this
2-3 years ago,
2 or 3 years ago, I was thinking 3 years ago, I would have said, no, you're crazy. There's no way Dave Roberts is managing this club in 2029. But here we are. And to be fair, it's possible he's not. It's like, maybe they cut ties early or something. Who knows? But on paper, at least, he is locked into 2029. And it's wild to me because, and I feel like we bring this up anytime we talk Dave Roberts, there was so much of the fan base calling for this guy's head because they said this guy overmanages, this guy's in over his head, this guy is good for nothing more than a divisional title. Now what? How are we feeling now, Dodgers fans? Are we happy? Are we finally happy with this decision? Because, you want to talk about a baseball guy, and I know that gets thrown around maybe more than it should, but I genuinely feel like Dave Roberts is just a baseball guy. And I think we've talked about, like, with the shift in personnel in front offices, and now more so, I feel like with managers, you're seeing maybe a little bit of shine away from the overly analytical minded people, and you're getting to, and I'm not saying that the people that are in these positions aren't analytically minded, but I'm just saying, like, you're still seeing people now more so than I think you did a few years ago that have a true feel for the game. And I think Dave Roberts has a feel for the game, despite an occasional maybe over reliance on what an analytic report says, or what have you. But I think this is a good move for the Dodgers. And with everything that you have going on right now, like, why not? This is a extending Dave Roberts is a footnote in this offseason.
Yeah.
A footnote. Extending a manager through 2029 would be the highlight for a lot of teams. This is back page newspaper type stuff here.
Yeah, well, they've just run out of pages. so much to fill in, man. Yeah, no brainer in my opinion. I got a question for you though. Do you think?
I love when you hit me with questions. You should do it more.
Do you think Dave Roberts has the easiest managerial job this year or the hardest?
No, we talked about this when they brought in. Where did we draw the line? Like, remind me, what was the move where we're like, okay,
I think it was Kirby Yates, wasn't it?
Was it? Yeah, you're probably right. I think it was one of those
Kirby Yates,
more minor.
Right after.
I know
what reliever.
I know what you're thinking.
No, it was dude, what's wrong with me? The freaking lefty. The lefty reliever that everyone wanted this year.
Tanner Scott.
Yeah, Tanner Scott.
Yeah, there was a couple dominoes fell. Yeah, I remember that. Yeah, I think you're
Tanner
right.
Scott. That was like because it was like a few days after Snell, wasn't it?
No, Snell was early. Snell was early.
I thought it was like really close to another deal.
I think you're right. There were some dominoes that fell sort of consecutively there, and I think going back to what I was saying, I think you're right. I think it was one of the lesser moves where it was like, man, Didn't see this happening, but at the same time, you could very easily see this happening. In the chat, you mean the move where the Dodgers brought on an entire Japanese pro team? Yeah, that one.
Maybe it was right after. I think it was Sasaki, and then like 3 or 4 days later,
yeah,
Tanner Scott came through, and we are like, really?
Yeah, and that's where I went on that rant, and I said something to the effect of like, you have no choice but to run the table here because you're too good not to.
Yeah, that's the why I brought up the question. That's why does he have the hardest job? Does he have the easiest job?
Well, if I'm standing by that take of you have no choice but to run the table this year, then I have to assume, or I have to stick by the fact that I believe he's got the toughest because of the expectations on this team. I mean, you are going to be under the microscope every pitch.
I disagree. I think he's got the easiest job because he can't be blamed, because every button he presses is a freaking star. Every button he presses is a star. Not like it falls on the player this year more than Dave Roberts ever. Like in any of the situations that we've gone after Dave Roberts in the past, it hasn't necessarily been about a player not fulfilling what they're supposed to be, like not living up to the hype. It's been Dave Roberts pressing a button at a weird time because of analytics or because of following a script, right? Like now it's like every button you press, it's like, well, I don't blame you. I don't blame you for pulling out Glass now in the 5th inning because if you're bringing in Tanner Scott right after, or Kirby Yates, whatever you're going to be doing in the 6th, 7th, 8th, and 9th innings, like I get you pressing that button. It makes sense. You know what I mean? That's why I feel like it's the easiest.
I guess, but no, I just can't. I can't get on board with that because it's like if for whatever reason this team hits a slide, who are they going to look to? Sure, the accountability needs to fall on that roster, on that lineup, because of how good they are and how otherworldly like half that starting lineup is. But what if? No, I'm not even going to say what if. When they hit a slide, because it's inevitable in this game, some teams are shorter than others in a given year, certainly. But when they hit a slide, who else is there going to be who else are you going to have to look at? It's going to have to be Dave Roberts. Because it's like you're going to have to, you're going to have to be a manager now because your team is at a point right now where they're struggling. So Dave, we're going to have to ask you to step in and be a manager, because as it stands right now, going into the season, he can sit on his hands and do nothing. And they're going to win 4 or 5 games a week in their sleep. But when they hit that inevitable slide, he's going to have to step in and manage.
I think when those slides happen, it's going to be other factors. I think it's going to be injury based. I think it's going to be, which is weird because like they're basically injury proof for how deep they are. Every button,
I guess,
every button works.
It should.
The only thing I could imagine blaming him for is like if somehow the clubhouse gets out of whack, which is hard to imagine when you have Freddie and Mookie as leaders in there. Everyone's bought in. I think he's got the easiest job.
I don't know if I think of Mookie as like a bona fide leader, if we're being honest. Mookie's guy.
I think he's a clubhouse gem. Wouldn't call him a leader. You know what I mean? Sure. Like I think he's just like cool as a cucumber. Like, just a good teammate. I think he's a really good teammate.
No. Yeah, for sure. But I'm saying like and understandably so with the money he's making. But if there's a brawl that breaks out, is Mookie Betts going to be in the middle of it? No, he's not.
no one's hitting Mookie. Like no one's gonna hit him. So I think he would.
But you know how that stuff goes, man. Guys just they start seeing red. You sort of lose sight of the bigger picture.
It is weird. Like I did hear him in an interview where he was talking about like how Ohtani just like he isn't around anybody. And I think that's kind of difficult. I wonder if that starts to become a little strange for guys. He doesn't go to dinners. He doesn't go hang out with the guys. He's too big. He's too popular to go out and be with the team. So he shows up. You see him in the locker room. You see him get some work in on the field, and then he's gone after the game. He just falls back in the shadows like Batman. I don't know. That's the only thing in my head where I'm just like, what could go wrong for the Dodgers? Because injuries are going to happen. They have an 8-man rotation. Injuries are going to happen. You have $40 million put into your bench. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm not worried.
In the chat, 562 is Robert's worst season there in terms of winning percentage. His first season, 100 plus win seasons.
I'm gonna make it 6 this year. They're gonna win 100 games.
I mean, I see 73 at best.
Yeah.